Bandit Healer had a plan. A simple plan. Take the girls to the cinema, see the new chunky Chimp movie, sit quietly, eat popcorn, go home. A perfectly normal Saturday activity that millions of families pull off without incident every single weekend. He had clearly never met his own daughters. This is the story of the day Bingo nearly demolished movie night before it even started, and the 7 minutes of chaos that followed. That ended up being one of the funniest and most quietly important afternoons the Healer family ever had. It started the second they walked through the doors. Bingo did not walk into the cinema lobby. Bingo launched herself through the doors, giggling, sprinted off into the building, and was already gone before Bandit had finished his sentence. "Bingo, calm it down a bit, mate," he called out in the exact tone of a man who already knew this was not going to work. Bluey, on the other hand, walked in slowly, hands half raised like she was approaching a wild animal. This was her very first trip to the cinema, ever. And she had questions, big ones. She found Bingo squealing behind a giant cardboard cutout of Chunky Chimp, a pink chimpanzee waving a banana in front of a painted thunderstorm. Bingo thought it was the funniest thing she had ever seen in her life. Bluey thought it was a warning sign. "Dad," Bluey said, staring at the thunderstorm on the poster, "is there going to be thunder in the movie?" Bandit, distracted, said, "Maybe." Bluey's face fell instantly. She had heard that her friend Mackenzie had already seen this movie and survived it just fine, which was the only reason she had agreed to come at all. But thunder was a serious complication. "Are you sure you're ready for movies, Bluey?" Bandit asked gently. "You're a bit of a sensitive kid." "Mackenzie's seen it," Bluey said immediately, as if that settled everything. "Yeah, but you're not Mackenzie," Bandit replied. "I know," Bluey said, working very hard to sound confident. "But I'm ready." She was not ready. Nobody in this family was ready, but off they went to buy tickets anyway. At the snack counter, Bingo was already deep into her next project, which involved repeatedly pressing the retractable barrier belt at the front of the queue while Bandit tried to order. He asked for 1 popcorn. The cinema dog behind the counter said, "Sure." That was popcorn order number 1. It would not survive contact with Bingo. The second Bandit handed it over, Bingo grabbed the bucket with both hands, immediately lost her balance, and fell flat on her back, sending popcorn exploding in every direction across the lobby floor. She laughed about it instantly and completely, the way only a small child who has just created total chaos and felt zero consequences for it can laugh. Bandit looked at the disaster on the floor. He looked at the counter dog. "And another popcorn," he said with the weary calm of a man who had clearly done this exact routine before. Popcorn order number 2 was purchased. The family proceeded into the actual theater. Bingo ran in squealing, holding the new bucket aloft like a trophy. Bandit had to grab her hand just to keep her in the building. Bluey walked in behind them with both hands clamped over her eyes, just in case the movie had already started and contained thunder she was not prepared for. She walked straight into the back of her own father. "Open your eyes, Bluey," Bandit said. "The movie hasn't even started yet. These are just trailers." The trailers did not help anyone's nerves. A cartoon bee appeared on screen out of nowhere, doing some kind of confident little pose directly at the camera, and Bluey shrieked and dove behind the seats, crawling along the floor until she was hiding behind Bandit's legs. Bandit sat down and tried to get everyone settled. He pushed down the seat next to him for Bingo. "You sit here, Bingo." "Ooh, swingy chair," Bingo said, delighted by the discovery that cinema seats fold. She immediately let go and let it spring back up, which promptly squished her against the backrest. She thought this was hilarious. She squealed with laughter. "Whoops," Bandit said. "Maybe just sit forward a bit." Bluey, meanwhile, had grabbed Bandit's hand and was holding on tightly with her eyes shut. "Tell me when the trailers are over," she instructed. Then came the sound, a low rumbling chord that built into a massive wall of vocal noise. The kind of dramatic cinema opening sound effect that exists specifically to remind you that you are watching something on a very big screen. Bluey grabbed both of her own ears and yanked them down flat against her head like she was trying to physically block out the entire building. And right in the middle of all this, Bingo's seat snapped shut again. This time it caught her popcorn bucket in the fold and crushed the whole thing. "Oh, my popcorn," Bingo said, staring sadly at the wreckage. Popcorn order number 2, officially down. The movie had not even started yet. Eventually, mercifully, the movie itself began. Chunky Chimp turned out to be a pink chimpanzee building a bicycle, while another chimp named Chubbles mocked him relentlessly for being different. Then, with absolutely no warning, Chunky looked up at the sky and started singing about it. I wish I wasn't different, he crooned. I wish I were the same. Bandit, whispering, leaned over with the specific despair of a parent who had not been told there would be musical numbers. Oh man, he muttered. There's songs. While Chunky worked through his feelings in song form on the big screen, something quieter was happening next to Bandit. Bluey had gone still. She was thinking. She was the only kid in her entire friend group who had never been to the cinema before today. Mackenzie had seen this movie already. Everyone else had probably done this a dozen times. And here was a pink chimpanzee on the screen, singing about feeling different from everyone else. And Bluey, sitting in the dark holding her dad's hand, felt exactly that. She did not say any of this out loud. She just sat there with it. Bandit, sensing something but not entirely sure what, told her gently not to take the movie too seriously. It was just monkeys singing songs. Mate, don't think too hard about it. Bluey thought about it anyway. That is what 7-year-olds do. Then came the part Bluey had been dreading since the lobby, the thunderstorm scene. The screen flashed. Thunder rumbled through the speakers. And Bluey, who had been holding it together through popcorn explosions and singing chimpanzees and a B trailer she did not consent to, finally hit her limit. She wanted out. Now, Bandit, fair enough, agreed they could leave. There was just one small problem. Bingo was gone. At some point during the thunderstorm, Bingo had quietly slipped away to find the bathroom, and Bandit now needed Bluey's help finding her in a dark, unfamiliar cinema. During the exact scene Bluey had been trying to escape, Bluey, eyes squeezed shut and hands clamped over her face, stumbled through the theater half blind, trying to be brave for her little sister while the thunderstorm raged behind her. And then, just as she was at her most frightened, a line from the movie cut through the noise of the storm. A character on screen said it plainly, directly, like it had been waiting the whole movie just for her. There's no one else quite like you. Bluey opened her eyes. The fear was just gone. Not because the thunderstorm stopped, it hadn't, but because something about that one sentence landed exactly where it needed to. She was the only kid in her group who had never seen a movie before today. She felt different, sitting there in the dark, scared of thunder while everyone else seemed fine. And the movie, of all things, had just told her that being different was not the problem she thought it was. By the time Bandit found Bingo, soaking wet hands and all, fresh from an enthusiastic battle with the bathroom hand dryers, he was fully ready to call the whole outing off and take everyone home. Bluey said no. She wanted to stay. She wanted to finish the movie. The ending that made everyone laugh. They went back to their seats. Chunky Chimp finished his journey, learned to be himself, and the whole cinema swelled into one final big, ridiculous musical number about embracing who you are. Bingo, freshly dried off and full of energy again, bounced along to the music in her swingy chair, which mercifully stayed open this time. Bluey watched the whole ending with her eyes wide open, no hands over her face, completely unbothered by thunder, bees, or singing chimpanzees. Afterward, walking out through the lobby past the wreckage of 2 destroyed popcorn buckets and a Chunky Chimp standee that had survived against all odds, Bandit asked how the movie was. Bluey grinned. Bingo cheered something about bananas. And somewhere between the spilled popcorn, the swinging seat, the B trailer, and one perfectly timed line of dialogue, what had started as a near disaster of a movie night turned into the exact opposite. A first cinema trip nobody in that family would forget, and the kind of chaotic, popcorn-covered, completely ordinary Saturday that the healers somehow always turn into something worth remembering. Bandit just shook his head, laughing, and went to go find a vacuum for his car. If this one made you smile, go check out the real episode. It's called Movies, Season 2, Episode 29, and it's every bit as funny watching it as it is reading about it. Got a favorite chaotic Bluey moment of your own? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for reading, and we will see you next time.